Hi everyone. Let's see the types of operating system. The first one is batch operating system. So in batch operating system, every job or let's say every task is processed in a sequence manner. For example, let's say we have a CPU. So and there are four jobs. Let's say job J1, job J2, job J3 and job J4 arrive in that order. Okay, means job J1 comes first, then after job J2 comes, then job J3 and job J4. So what operating system will do, it will pick the first job and give it to the CPU. Okay, then CPU will process this first job and after processing it will give the outputs. So the output will also come in sequence. First J1 output, then after process number job number J2 will processed, and then J2 output will come, and similarly job J3 and then finally job J4. Okay, so here you will clearly see that every job is processed in a sequence manner and their outputs are also achieved in a sequence. So using batch operating system, there is one problem. Problem is, let's say every process, consider every process or job will have two times. Okay, one is CPU time and other is input output time. Okay, so every process or every program you want to run will have their two times. First is CPU time and the next one is IO time. What is CPU and what is IO? When process or let's say job requires CPU processor to process the particular job, then CPU time will be needed. And when it requires input output, let's say it requires some read from the input files or read from the keyboard, then it is input output time. So whenever let's say job J1, it will processed by the CPU and in intermediate it will require input output, then it will go to the IO and compute the IO time. So when it computes the IO time, CPU will be idle. So for that purpose CPU will be idle, and this is the main drawback of batch operating system. So whenever any process or any job requires input output time, then CPU will be idle at that time. And because of this, there are many problems faced by batch operating system. One is starvation. Starvation means some jobs will wait for longer time to come their particular to come their CPU time. Starvation is the problem. Next is, it is not interactive. It is not interactive operating system. So batch operating system is used in early days. So in early days people are used to use particular punch cards and will do their jobs by using this batch operating system. So it is not interactive and starvation problem is occurred. That's why nowadays we do not use batch operating system. So batch operating system is not used, but it is a concept in theory, that's why we study. Okay, next one is multi-programming operating system. So the problem of CPU being idle is due to the input output time. Okay, so whenever a job need input output time, it will go and perform the input output, and that time CPU will be idle. So if we allocate some other job to the CPU when let's say job J1 require IO, then let's say we allocate J2 job to the CPU, and whenever J1 finish their IO time, it will come and perform the CPU time. So multi-programming operating system will remove the drawbacks or will remove the fallacy of the particular batch operating system. And in multi-programming operating system, what we will do, let's say job J1, J2, J3 and J4 will need to be processed. Okay, and job J1 require, let's say, input output. Then CPU will pick the job J2 and it will process. So here CPU is not idle, CPU is not free, and because of this property, starvation problem is not occurred. Okay, and the next thing is efficiency is increased. So batch operating system is very much less efficient compared to the multi-programming operating system. Okay, so two things have to be noted in multi-programming. One is the efficiency and second is the CPU is not idle. CPU is always busy. CPU is always busy to doing their jobs. Doing the jobs. So this is multi-programming operating system. Next one is multitasking. In multitasking, let's say some higher priority process comes. So whenever a higher priority process comes, we allocate this higher priority process first and forcefully remove the running process. So in multitasking is nothing but it is multi-programming with preemption. Multi-programming with preemption. Preemption means we forcefully stop some process in CPU and give other process which will have their higher priority. Let's say J2 process have higher priority than J1, then we will stop J1 process and put them in a queue, let's say wait queue, and run the process J2. Okay, so because of this property, multitasking is more interactive compared to multi-programming. So multitasking is more interactive compared to multi-programming. And also in multitasking, CPU is always busy because whenever some job job needs input output time, we will process another job by CPU. Okay, so this is multitasking. Next is multiprocessing. In multiprocessing, we have many processors and each processor process different jobs or different tasks. So in batch operating system or multi-programming or multitasking, we have single processor or single CPU. Okay, single processor or single CPU. But in multi-processing, we have more than one CPUs. So let's say we have CPU 1, CPU 2, CPU 3 and so on. CPU 1 will do job J1, CPU 2 will do job J2, CPU 3 will do job J3, and similarly all the CPUs will do their respective jobs. So what happens if each processor or each CPU will doing different jobs, then definitely number of jobs finished per unit time will be more compared to the multitasking or multi-programming. So number of jobs finished per unit time is nothing but throughput. So throughput is very much high in multi-processing operating system. So it is very much high compared to multitasking or multi-programming. Okay, that's why these days you heard that quad core, octa core, and these are nothing but quad core means 4 CPUs, octa core means 8 CPUs. So there are many processors or many CPUs which will do different jobs simultaneously, and because of which we will get the degree of multi-programming, means we will finish the number of jobs per unit time is high. And the last one is real-time operating system. So real-time operating system is the operating system which is based on time, which is time constant. So in real-time operating system, it is based on time constant. So here any job will have their deadline. Let's say job J1 requires time 3 unit. Okay, so real-time operating system will finish this job J1 in 3 units specifically. Okay, so for example, let's say missile launching operations. So in missile launching operations, we have used real-time operating system because their deadline or time constant is more important than any other factor. Okay, so real-time operating system is based on time constant. Multiprocessing is using various processors to compute the different jobs simultaneously. Multitasking is nothing but multiprogramming with preemption. Multiprogramming means CPU is always busy, or CPU will always doing their jobs, and batch operating system is nothing but computing the jobs in sequence manner. Okay, so that's all about the types of operating system. We will see the various other aspects related to operating system.